Hi, everybody, and welcome to this week's Ghostlighting Theater in the Dark. I'm Kathy Wing, Artistic Director of the Randall Theatre Company, here, as always, in our temporary headquarters in the corner of my living room. We are absolutely jam-packed this week with some really great stuff for you. So, check it out. I recently spent some time visiting with the founder and first artistic director of the Randall Theatre Company, none other than Robin Downward. We'll also have Chapter 4 of our virtual staged reading of Cam Duncan and the Dilemma of the Doctor's Wife. Plus, we had some very creative entries for this week's Randall Challenge, so later on, we'll take a look at what some of you sent for our face mask decorating contest. No theater game this week. I know, I'm disappointed too. But what we do have is the debut of our public domain concert series. Now, this is something any of you out there can do with us, whether you consider yourself a singer or not. But I know there are a lot of singers out there, and I know you miss performing, and I know you have some time on your hands. So check out this week's performers and then get busy so you can be part of a future segment. That's all coming up right after Cam Duncan. But first, he was the first artistic director of the Randall Theatre Company, as well as its founder. And even though he's moved on to other things, the Randall still has a special place in his heart. Not long ago, we sat down, courtesy of Zoom, to chat about the early days of the theater company and his inspiration for starting it. Here's Robin Downward. So I am here with Robin Downward. How are you, Robin?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. It's good to see you.
Good to see you, even if it's just on a video.
Well, we are practicing the social distancing, and you are the founder of the Randall Theatre, and that started that about 10 years ago.
Right. Well, actually, I realized that technically the Randall Theatre is actually in its 11th season.
Right.
In 2009, a Randall group of people got together and we performed a spoof of A Christmas Carol that had the Grinch as the Scrooge character. And we performed it for the tree lighting ceremony for Medford.
Oh, wow.
The Ghost of Christmas Present was actually a ghost that was wearing a big, huge Christmas present box with a big, huge bow on his head. And that was really the first, I would say, official production that the Randall Theatre Company group put together. There was a melodrama in Jacksonville as well that the name Randall Theatre Company was used in. But there wasn't really a lot of people really attached to it at that time. But it was, Randall Theatre Company on the poster that helped produce the melodrama. So a couple of actual performances in 2009. And then we also, we did the haunted house as a way to raise money to actually officially start the theater company, to create things that we needed, seating and basic lights and all that type of stuff for the small warehouse space that eventually became the main stage for the Randall Theatre Company for the first 6 years.
So let's talk for just a little bit about some of the first shows that were in the space after it got started.
Well, the first official Randall Theatre Company production was a comedic melodrama called Ranger's Danger. It was a ridiculous melodrama. It was a lot of fun. It was indeed one of those situations where it was, hey kids, let's put on a show. We've got a barn, let's put on a show. Instead, it wasn't a barn, it was a cold warehouse. Another show we did that first season, another completely ridiculous, really horrible script, actually, Scots on the Rocks, which, of course, was we're not in a theater, so I can say it. So that was a musical spoof of Macbeth. We've got these witches that are singing to the tune of Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy. I can't even remember the lyrics, but it was just this over the top. And I remember, actually, Rob directed it, but we both told everybody, listen, this could go really bad or it can go really well. You just have to sell it. And there were people in the cast that had never acted before in their lives. We did highlights from the Carol Burnett show, just throwing stuff out there to see, what would be fun that people would enjoy, just to gain some interest. And so that was a lot of fun. So that was officially the first.
Sounds like just a real kind of pioneer spirit back in those.
Yeah, exactly. There was a basic plan of what we wanted to do, but we didn't want to necessarily take ourselves too seriously, because who knows, for a nonprofit theater company to live outside of its first or second season is incredibly difficult to do. So we didn't really think about how we couldn't do stuff. We just only thought about what we were going to do.
The Randall Theatre has come a long way since those early days. Coming up, more with Robin about how the Randall Theatre got its name and the family influence that still inspires him today. But first, we're about to start into phase 1 of reopening Southern Oregon. And while that won't open the theater doors quite yet, there will be a few more places we can go. Our question this week: if by some miracle all restrictions could be lifted, what is the first thing you would do?
Oh, I'm gonna go out to karaoke and just go ham with all of my homies.
Probably just hug my friends. I would really love to go out to a bar and just relax and just be in their company. Anything, like simple thing.
Probably go out to get a beer. I think that's high on there. And hopefully, if timing works, immediately start working again.
Probably hang out with my friends. Just face-to-face interaction with my friends. We'll probably get together and play board games.
Hugging people and going out to dinner.
Go to the beach and then go home to Ashland and Medford and say hi to everybody.
We are going to go on a maskless walk. The last night I was out in public was St. Patrick's Day. And it was such a good night. Corned beef and beer and a 12 o'clock close time. So I got to finish that night out.
Probably take a walk around my neighborhood, go see a movie, go visit my family.
Oh. Open my new business.
You named it the Randall Theatre Company as a tribute to your brother.
I always call my brother Randy. My brothers and sisters did, but his name was Randall Joseph Downward. A lot of people know this story, but I'm the youngest of 7 kids, and all of us were very interested in the arts. Randy was just one of those guys that was incredibly artistically gifted. It also went over into other areas like electronics, art, filmmaking. He was always had this really imaginative mind. He loved magic. He created his own illusions, but we were 10 years apart. So it's not like we were really close from the standpoint of age, but I would just stand back and marvel at all of the things that he did. Unfortunately, my brother passed away when he was 18 and I was 8 at the time. So I didn't necessarily understand how deep of an impact that would have. Flash forward, decades. When I decided that I wanted to start the theater, and I was thinking of a name, and really only one came to mind, and that was using my brother's name as the name of the theater. His motivation, his impact on me really has spurned a lot of different creative ideas in me, not just in the theater, but in life in general.
So that's how it all started for the Randall Theatre Company. And actually, we had a lot of fun reminiscing and talking about some of the great shows the Randall has done over the years. so look for another visit with Robin in a future show. You can also look for the new adventure he's working on, Crunch Time Wreck and Escape Rooms. And now it's time for a new feature here on Ghostlighting. It's our public domain concert series.
Hey everybody, it's John Wing. You know me as a guy who likes to make a bunch of jokes a lot of time, but also I am the president of the board of the Randall Theatre Company, so I am coming to you with a challenge, all right? This is the public domain concert series. We're not going to pay for all you guys to, license all your favorite Demi Lovato songs to sing, but we would like to provide some musical entertainment for you. So I'm going to start things off with a little public domain song, because they're in the public domain. You don't have to pay for them. Anyone can sing them and distribute them for any reason. So it's a really beautiful thing. The only challenge is the songs leave a lot to be desired, okay? So you're going to have to sell it a little bit, and as the president of the board, I would never ask you to do anything I wouldn't be willing to do myself. So here we go with my rendition of Camptown Races. Gotta wait for the lyrics. Hold on. I don't know the song by heart. Camptown ladies sing this song, doo-dah, doo-dah. Camptown racetrack's 5 miles long, oh, da doo-dah day. Came down here with my hat caved in, doo-dah, doo-dah. I go back home with a pocket full of tin, oh, the doo-dah day. Gonna run all night, gonna run all day. I bet my money on a bobtailed nag, somebody bet on the gray. The long-tailed filly and the big black horse, doo-dah, doo-dah. Come to a mud hole and they all cut across, oh, the doo-dah day. I came down here with my hat caved in, doo-dah, doo-dah. Go back home with a pocket full of tin, oh, the doo-dah day. Going to run all night, going to run all day. I bet my money on a bobtailed nag, somebody bet on the gray. All right, well, there you go. Now you know all the lyrics to that song. Those public domain songs are readily available online. I encourage you to go check it out. Pick a favorite one that you kind of know, and have some fun with it. So thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time on Public Domain Concert Series.
Previously on Cam Duncan and the Dilemma of the Doctor's Wife. Things have been rough for Private Detective Cam Duncan for quite some time. At least he knows he can count on his secretary, Sally.
I'm sorry, Cam, but a girl just can't live on rubber checks and good intentions.
Or maybe not. Police Detective Albert Locke makes an unexpected visit to Cam's office to ask for help on a murder investigation, but he has a very unusual request.
Rose McKenzie, the good doctor's wife, is our prime suspect. What I need you to do is find a way to prove her innocence.
Cam digs into the evidence, but the deeper he goes, the more he can't understand why Inspector Locke wants to protect this woman, until he meets her.
Mr. Duncan, Cam, you have to believe me. I didn't kill my husband. I loved him.
But Cam's instincts are telling him that something is off about all this, and he worries that his friend, the police inspector, might be in too deep.
One thing was certain. Locke was in over his head, and I needed to know why.
And now, the Randall Theatre and the Ghostlight Players present Chapter 4 of Cam Duncan and the Dilemma of the Doctor's Wife by Amy Lynn Carter, featuring Kathy Wing as Nurse Margaret Bertinelli and David Alonso Rodriguez as Private Detective Cam Duncan.
Like I said last time, the visit from Rose McKenzie raised more questions than it answered, especially about the nature of her involvement with Locke. It wasn't like him to lose his head over a skirt, even a looker like Rose, Mrs. McKenzie. One thing was certain, Locke was in over his head and I needed to know why. But that would have to wait until later. Right now, it was time for a chat with Nurse Margaret Bertinelli.
Cam arrives at Margaret's front door and knocks. Margaret opens the door slightly. She is a middle-aged woman, pleasant enough. As the conversation progresses, we see that she is a bit of a busybody. She might also have cats.
Mrs. Bertinelli?
Yes? Who is it?
Cam Duncan, ma'am. I'm a private investigator. I'd like to talk to you about the murder of your employer, Dr. Frank Mackenzie.
I've already told the police everything I know.
Yes, ma'am. I've seen the report, but I just have a few questions that only you can answer. Please, may I come in?
Margaret reluctantly opens the door and ushers him in.
Thank you, Mrs. Bertinelli. This shouldn't take long.
He pauses, looks around, hoping that she will invite him to sit. She does not. He shrugs and continues, taking out a notepad and pencil, and he takes notes as they talk.
Mrs. Bertinelli, how long did you work for Dr. Mackenzie?
It would have been 12 years next month, including the 2 years that Dr. Mackenzie was gone serving in the war effort. I kept the office going for him.
I see. So you remember when he met Mrs. Mackenzie?
Yes, it was about 4 years ago. She was Rose Bailey then. She had recently moved into town and needed to see a doctor.
What did she come in for?
I can't tell you that.
All right, what can you tell me about her? How did she go from patient to doctor's wife?
Well, I suppose it happened the way most things like that do. She came in here for the first few visits. Then Dr. Mackenzie added her to his house call rounds. A few months later, they announced their engagement.
You didn't approve.
It's not for me to say. I just thought it was strange, that's all. He barely knew her. But he seemed to feel that she needed someone to take care of her, to protect her. He would talk about how helpless and alone she was.
Is that what you thought too?
Mr. Duncan, please sit down. Dr. Mackenzie was a lonely man. His first wife died about 8 years ago. Terrible thing. He never quite recovered. But then Rose came along and he's just seemed, well, different.
In what way?
He was happier, with a sense of purpose, I suppose. But there was always something about her. Nothing I can put my finger on. Call it women's intuition if you like, but I always felt that she wasn't quite as helpless as she seemed.
And after they married?
They seemed happy enough at first, though lately there seemed to be some tension.
How so?
Oh, I don't know. They used to meet for lunch 2 or 3 times a week, but in the last few months, hardly at all. And when I did see them together, there was almost always a quarrel of some kind. It would usually blow over, so I didn't think much about it. I didn't want to pry. I mind my own business, Mr. Duncan.
Yes, of course. You said in your statement that on the day of the murder, you heard them arguing. So, based on what you just said, that wasn't unusual.
Yes, except that they usually made up before parting ways. But not this time. Not that day. Mrs. Mackenzie seemed on the verge of tears, and Dr. Mackenzie, well, he told me to forget what happened and just went back into his office and closed the door. More like slammed the door, if you know what I mean. We saw our afternoon patients and we closed up for the day. That was the last time I saw him alive.
Your statement also mentioned seeing a man outside the building as you were leaving that day. What made you take notice of him?
Mr. Duncan, I leave that building every day at the same time, and I'd never seen that man before. He was leaning up against the wall as if he was waiting for something or someone. It was a warm fall day, but he had his overcoat on and it was all buttoned up. He also had his hat pulled down over his eyes. Between you and me, I don't think he wanted to be recognized. Very strange.
And he was carrying a satchel of some kind?
Yes, sort of like a large carpet bag.
I see. Just one more question, Mrs. Bertinelli. When you discovered Mrs. Mackenzie with the body, did you find anything unusual about her behavior?
Well, I don't know what's usual about walking into a room and find your husband has been shot to death. She was very clearly upset, eyes red from crying, no lipstick, her dress wrinkled from bending down over the body. She's usually quite the fashion plate.
Do you think that Rose Mackenzie killed her husband?
Look, Mr. Duncan, I know what people are saying, but those two loved each other. Sure, they were going through a rough patch, but I don't think Rose is capable of murder.
Anyone else that you know that may have had it in for him?
No, of course not. He was a good man, not an enemy in the world.
All right. Thank you for your time, Mrs. Bertinelli. And if you think of anything else, please give me a call on the number on this card. Or better yet, come by my office.
Well, I doubt I'll think of anything else that would help. Like I said, I mind my own business.
Okay, I'm not sure what's up with that nurse Margaret Bertinelli. I don't think she was really very helpful. Cam Duncan has certainly got his work cut out for him, so you'll have to come back next week to see what happens. And now it's time for this week's Randall Challenge. We asked you to take an ordinary face mask and transform it into a work of art. Now, honestly, I am not a bit artsy, but I did have this N95 mask and some markers, so I turned it into an advertisement for my favorite football team, Go Ducks. Yeah, right. You better take a look at these entries done by other people with a lot more artistic ability than what I have. Very cool. Lovely yet functional. This week's semi-fabulous prize of a gift card to the Human Bean Coffee Stand goes to... Congratulations! Now here's our next Randall Challenge. You may have heard that the legendary Broadway musical Hamilton is coming to Disney Plus on July 3rd. Well, to celebrate that, I want you to take a few bars from a song from a different musical and turn it into a hip-hop sensation. If you're really feeling brave, you might try a phrase or two from Shakespeare or anything in that iambic pentameter. And you know the drill. Make a video of your creation and email it to kathywing.randalltheatre@gmail.com and put Hip Hop Challenge in the subject line. And be creative because, as you know, somebody's gonna win a semi-fabulous prize. And we'd also like you to submit a song for our public domain concert series. Just Google up a list of public domain songs, pick one, learn it, and make a video of yourself performing it. Then send that video to me at the same email, kathywing.randalltheatre@gmail.com. And as always, if you like what we're doing here and if you are able, please support the Randall Theatre Company with a donation. Just follow the link at the bottom of your screen or look for the donate button at randalltheatre.com. You can catch up on all of our Ghostlighting shows anytime on the Randall Theatre Company Facebook page and our YouTube channel. Hey, thank you for joining us. I hope you'll be back next week. We're working on some fun surprises that I think you'll really enjoy. So until then, we'll keep the ghost light on for you.